Welcome to another great episode of the Contractor Business Builder podcast. So, what if marketing advice most contractors trust is costing them growth? Brian Javeline has spent decades helping contractors stop chasing leads and start building brands that bring in better clients. So, today we're joined by Brian Javeline. He's the CEO of myonlinetoolbox.com. How are you doing today, Brian?
Doing fantastic, Derek. Thank you so much for having me today on your podcast.
Definitely excited to dive into this. You've been there, done that, and continue to serve clients through, many decades of experience. You've built, many businesses yourself. What are some of the kind of the hard-earned lessons that gives you a different perspective from maybe some of the newer marketers out there?
Things are changing so fast. Just to backtrack it, you are correct. It's 1 year shy of 4 decades. I'm on 39 years
Nice.
with four
Yeah.
different businesses. And over the years, what I've seen happen, and it's continuing to happen and getting worse, is that people are replacing their knowledge of technology for their knowledge of marketing in general. So I kind of like equate it to just because you know how to use a word processor and you know how to use AI to create content, it doesn't make you a writer. And a lot of people have somehow adapted to saying because they understand the newest feature of websites or SEO or social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google profiles, they target an individual technical feature and then tell people that they're in marketing. But if you went to say, throw all of that out the window and
Mhm.
tell me about marketing with a pencil and a piece of paper, there's a lot of head scratching because they think of it as a trick question, but it's really the only question. And so what
Mhm.
happens is there's this divergence taking place where people will treat me, I'm 60 right now, and they'll treat me as old school when I tell them, no, it is the school. The problem is you skip school and don't want to hear it. And that's where when I just was speaking at the IBS KBIS and had in a couple of my presentations, there were people in their 20s and there were people in their 70s. And that difference is so massive because the ones that were the 50, 60, 70s, they see the marketing principles, but kind of feel lost on the technology side. And the younger generation masters the technology, but they really won't admit that they never took marketing as their foundation to leveraging the technology. And it's this cat and mouse game. And
Mhm.
that right there is the biggest, what I like to say, takeaway is to make sure that people are having a marketing strategy before they jump into a technical answer. And the technology, even me today, I ask people just how are you? And sometimes I get a paragraph that I could see was done by ChatGPT. I know it wasn't them thinking it. And I said, I didn't need a perfectly grammatically spell checked answer. I just was asking how you were. And then when you amplify that with somebody's business story and it was created by someone who didn't even know the story in the first place, that challenge is happening while you and I are on this podcast. And so
Mhm.
a lot of people have to admit it. And until they admit that problem, their marketing challenges are not going to go away. They're just going to get infinitely worse as time passes.
Yeah, for sure. There's the fundamentals, right, of marketing that aren't going to change, and you need to get the base right before you start adding on these, new technologies and all these things, and it kind of makes everybody a bit of an easy shortcut marketer without understanding what the important like brand and different processes are for marketing. So can you maybe tell us a bit about what you see contractors getting wrong as far as, maybe just jumping in with the newest AI and just using it to write everything? What do you like to see for a strong marketing
Well,
campaign?
a lot of times, and it's that you brought up a perfect topic because when I go to this show, this particular in our industry, the two big players at least are the IBS KBIS show for builders, remodelers, and a lot of other specialty contractors. And I have been going now for 16 years to that show, and I watch the booths come and go with the newest marketing of the day. And there's traditionally a 10 by 10 or a 10 by 20 booth. And it was amazing how many new players I saw that they say marketing and they just by default throw in AI as a topic. And I just start to laugh because they usually have that 1 to 2 clients, and one of them was probably family related. That, of course, the kid sitting in the booth, and I'm not being condescending to the kid. I'm just like, he joined his father's business, and miraculously, the father's business changed overnight. And I always will tell the person, your father was in business for many years, and yes, maybe you were a catalyst for it improving, but your 30-day fix in changing 5, 10, 15 years of a reputation, you're giving yourself too many stars on your shoulder than you think you deserve. And until you repetitively take somebody who is behind the eight ball and redo all of their marketing, and redoing it comes off my tongue easy, but to take someone's message and go through all of the years of history of all of the garbage, all of the things done wrong, and bring them out to their best for their new marketing launch, it's not an AI answer. It's a sitting down and kind of like me saying, "Hey, Derek, you seem like a nice guy, but I want to introduce you to everybody else who doesn't know you or me, and I need you to give me 30 pictures that represent your life. I need you to give me 1 to 5 sentences that support those images. And then after I have it, we're going to package it in a very articulated way. But I don't want to explain that way until you tell me what's the best of your life. And maybe you're going to give me just business topics. Maybe you're going to say, no, Brian, I had a hard childhood and you should see what I did here to get to college. And then I did this. Or maybe you're a father and we need you to know, are you a family man? Because that's a different personality than a singles person, whether they want to admit it or not. And there's a whole bunch of things that represent Derek that I don't want to say a word about how to amplify Derek's story until I even know what it is in his heart. And it takes a moment and it's painful because you might say, Brian, I got 10,000 pictures to choose from. I'll be like, wonderful. I'll speak to you next month. Start now because
Yeah.
it's going to take you time to kind of trim it down so I could begin to package the version of Derek, the person, or the version of Derek, the business person, or both. And
Mhm.
so a lot of people feel that somehow technology is going to give them this shortcut answer to the perfect resume. And until you can't design the resume until you know what is the best of the resume. And so what's happening is a lot of people don't like to hear that it's painful, but the reality is it is for everybody who's going to do it right. And so that is a straightforward answer that I tell people. There are many people doing it. They're just not doing it right because they don't want to hear that it's going to take them 30 days to get their act together before the next person kicks in. So I do have people who will say, Brian, I'm sorry that, they'll reach out to us for a marketing plan, some type of long-term guidance and say, oh, that wasn't my objective. And I'll tell them, sorry, your objective was wrong. Whoever is feeding you this mindset that you're going to, talk to somebody new on a Monday, I'm going to be all ready for you on a Tuesday, and we're going to be whapping this out by the end of this particular month or quarter. It's a fallacy. And so I tell people I'm only looking for the 1 to 5 year plan, not the get you online at the end of 30, 60 days and declare this virtual high five victory. It's the what is going to be allowing you to slowly build opportunities that maintain consistency through the ups and downs of a time of seasons, financial up and down, but maintaining the brand that it just keeps coming and coming. And then they start to get better and better. And the residual is 1 to 5 years out, not 1 to 5 weeks out. And if they're not in the right mindset, it's just, for me at least, as a brand marketer, it's just a waste of time because they're trying to create something that doesn't exist long term.
Yeah, definitely on the same wavelength there. The time frames you need to be thinking long term, and I hearing what you're saying there, I feel like it equates a bit to you need to do the hard work, which is figuring out who you are, what your brand is, as you mentioned, compiling the right pictures, the right messaging, all of that sort of thing, which a lot of the time people just want to, I want to buy leads or I want to pay for a new website or I just want to, someone to put this in place and generate a bunch of new business for me. But that's not really the issue or the problem, and that's not really what's going to strengthen the business long term. So what do you feel is like what do you look at? You get a new client, they say their marketing's not working. You mentioned, putting some pictures and finding their story and things like that. What is kind of the strategy that you often implement or key factors that you look at?
Well, there's two separate topics The first is making sure that the builder, the remodeler, or the contractor, should I say, is looking to be the best they could be as a starting point. And there is, you said the word, and I wanted to clarify it because you said it was difficult. I really don't think it's difficult. I think it's just time consuming that people don't want to admit to. And that usually there'll be this, I don't have any time. And then I'll say, no, that's all BS. You are allocating your time to the wrong things. We all have a certain finite time in a week and in our life. It's what are we going to do with that time? So to say I don't have any time is a BS thing because the marketing sits in front of whatever business direction you're going to be going. So if you're not going to make time to the direction you're going, it's almost like planning a vacation. Well, I don't have time to plan. Okay, where do you want to go? I don't know. So do you go to the airport and just kind of say, spin a wheel and go to wherever the hell that the next flight is? So I tell people, you stop making up something that doesn't exist, at least in the books of marketing. You're going to have to first spend that time. And so the psyche of doing it right is half the battle, but without the excuse, the traditional excuse of I don't have time or I've limited time versus no, we're going to carve out the correct amount of time to do it. Then you will tell everybody else that you don't have time for whatever the things are that come after marketing. Because if you're not going to get good customers in 3 months, 6 months, and 1 year later, why bother even looking to stay in business? Because it's go quit and take your talents and work for someone else and not have the pressure of saying that you're going to be in business because there's not a successful business that has not over time incorporated marketing as part of every other topic that must be on your mind, number one. And number two, after you agree to do it correctly, we then have to remember that you have competition. And we don't know what the bar is until we look at the competitors. So you might say, I work the hardest. And I might say, Derek, you work hard, but not the hardest compared to competitor 1, 2, and 7. They work harder, but competitor 4, 5, and 6, they work smarter. So these 7 people, whether you like it or not, are going to be ahead of you while you're spending your time telling us how hard you work. So what I tell people is you want to first go to do it right, then study your competitors and realize and I just said 7 as a lucky number, it wasn't intentional. But if you have 7 people, all those 7 competitors may be doing better than you, but you have to find out what is their individual secret sauce or secret sauces and combine your awareness of what makes them tick. So when we go to do our plan, we leverage the best of your competitors. Not everything that your competitors are doing needs to be emulated, but certain things do. And let me use a case in point because I literally just did this. I'm talking marketing plan delivered. I'm going away for a little bit and it was just delivered last Friday. And the guy is in a very tight market. He's doing well, over 2 million a year, under 3 million. But his competitors are all bigger than him and they're all established. So everyone's doing well. And he was like, Brian, I don't get these companies. One of them is their name is everywhere, but they have a crappy website, just like me. Good point. But it made him feel better. And I said, however, after I took a moment to study him, that competitor belongs to all of the local networking groups. So he has an affinity for getting in his car and going to events, and he gets seen by the community, and he's getting his networking through handshakes. There's a lot of people who are allergic to going in their car and going to events. Well, until you do it, this guy is just going to keep going to events, shaking hands, having a beer, having a cocktail, and whatever he's doing, that is his addiction. That topic is going to keep him in business regardless of what else everybody else does. Another competitor also had a crappy website. So statistically, he looks like crap. But in the field, he tells everyone that he gets so many leads online. It took me a little bit to figure out after I was just looking at the person, the website statistically did suck, and it still sucks to this day. It is a mishmash of crap, technically and from a content perspective. But the contractor's wife belongs to a mommy and me club on Instagram, And locally, she has all these followers and everybody sharing pictures of the babies, blah, blah, blah. And every once in a while, the husband pops in with the picture of the baby. Then she tags his business and they go, oh, I need a kitchen. I need a bathroom. So this woman is inadvertently driving a few hundred people locally to the husband's account. They go to the website. They already said, I know you through the wife's, club, and
Mhm.
it becomes a deal. But it's a channel that I told the guy, unless you're having a baby and your wife is going to form her own baby, mommy and me club and have a following, this guy is a benefactor of a separate way of connecting. And there's nothing that's going to change other than the babies will get older, right? And then nobody cares anymore, and he might have to figure it out, but who cares? But my point is, using those two quick topics, I didn't want him to feel that these people he admired, the Instagram one is easier because you could create your own Instagram channel and try to build a following. It may not be as successful as the other one, but getting in your car and for him to say, I really don't like those events. And I told him, you got to snap out of it. You just said something and said you bow down to your competitor. And I guarantee you, he's just another guy showing up in his truck, right? Hello, hi, this is what I do. They participate in a little problem solving community topics, and then someone hands them a business card. And I said, so if you're not going to do that, stop bitching about the other guy because he's going to do it with or without you complaining. And so that component of competitive awareness on top of the website, some of them are doing real, forgive my French, they are doing kick-ass jobs. And I tell them, hey, if I was this guy, I would give him no comments other than a compliment. He's following the rules. He has his website properly organized. It's optimized. It has the images. It has the story. And he's doing exactly what I would recommend. And maybe he even took my classes for all I know. I don't know. But I do know he's doing a good job. So even though you're calling it your competitor, I still have to acknowledge when your competitor has woken up and said, I am going to market my business correctly without caring about the newest My Online Toolbox client of the day. And so this is where, like anything, I'm a Panthers fan, Florida Panthers hockey. Well, we've been to we were at the Stanley Cup 3 years ago. We won the last 2 years, and now we're struggling to possibly be in last place. Well, we could only complain about the last 3 years where champs, 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 right? And I'm making a point, I'm still a fan, and they had a lot of injuries, but that's their excuse this year. A lot of injuries, right? They could only say Stanley Cup champions, and being number one and being at the bottom changes like that for many different factors. And that's why people need to be open-minded to getting better themselves and simultaneously open-minded to looking at their competitors objectively and not in an adversarial because they're your competitor. I'm great, he sucks, I heard this, you heard that. And I go, get past that and try to find the best of your competitors and leverage that knowledge to build it into your plan, comma, then do something about it. Don't just
Yeah.
say, I learned, but no, 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 I'm not going to events. Well, why did you hire me? What, other than me saying you can go to an event and I guarantee your competitor is going to be with a smile. Oh, nice to meet you. But he's a little pissed off because now people in the room have two people to talk to, not one. Right?
Yeah, yeah, lots of insights there, and it's a testament to your experience that it's not all just about how good your website looks or the latest AI, copywriting you're doing on your content. There are these methods where people are generating leads very locally, and construction being such a local type of business. I like what you said about the Instagram. I had a client who they had an admin person who was part of one of these mom groups for the local community and very similar thing where it would just come up, someone's like wanting to do a renovation or asking who's a good builder, and they were generating consistent leads just by one of their staff members being on one of these mom groups of the local community. Now, for those clients we've got lots of leads, but there's a lot of tire kickers. I hate going to these sales calls and people aren't buying, or maybe they want to move up and start just doing larger projects or certain types of projects. How do you approach getting better quality leads or more aligned leads with a company over just like more leads, but the quality of the leads? How do you improve that?
Well, the first thing is people need to define what is quality, right? I mean, I get phone calls that too. I look at it and I answer the phone. and go, what the, I say the F word in my head going, obviously this person has no idea who I am or the company and took even less time just Googling it to say, wow, he didn't deserve to even call me, right? I mean, I look at
Yep.
it as a child doesn't go to a BMW dealership on a tricycle and say, do you happen to have bikes, right? There's just something that says no. And then the guy looking for the cheapest Kia, not that Kia, I'm not demeaning Kia, they don't walk into the top of the line, BMW dealership and say, I'd like to see the best car you have, knowing that the financial difference is a lot. So even when it happens to me, I get perplexed because I realized the consumer was so far away that now I realized I have to take a moment to just be diplomatic in getting rid of them because they didn't even have the intellect to have a general idea of the door they were walking into. That's not my ideal client. And I have enough friends, Derek. So I tell people when I politely get rid of someone, I'm not mean, but I say, it's so great to talk to you. Let me send you something that's a quick package. Look at that. You got some free stuff, you got some pricing. And once you look at it, get back to me. 95% just disappear into the wind. But for contractors, they need to define what is quality. And let me go with the easier and work to the harder. The easier is the target geography. Everybody has this perception of what will make an ideal location to go to, but we all can't look at a map and just say, 10 miles north is better than 20 miles south because in certain areas, getting on the highway, 20 miles south is literally less than 15 minutes. But 10 miles north might be this little desert town, with trailers. 20 miles south could be the up and coming community being built with $500,000 homes. So I tell people, take a moment and look at your site, look at your profiles, and does it clearly identify the perfect places that where you want to go as a starting point? Because if a consumer doesn't know, they're just going to call and say, hey, do you work here? They don't know. So you got to call. And if they don't know, and Google doesn't know, and all of the AI search engines don't know, they just filter someone to say, hey, you're in the state of whatever. I'm in the state of whatever. Let's just see if there's a match. But it's a wasted time. That's just the starting point. But then as we get towards what you do, a lot of people, I will joke with them and say, so tell me, what do you do? Oh, I'm in construction. Oh, really? Great. Because I'm looking for a new, warehouse. No, I don't do warehouses. I work in residential. Aha. Okay. So you're not in construction. You're in residential construction. So can you build me a home? Oh, no, I do remodeling. Aha. So now you're not even in construction anymore. Let's get that word out of your mind because you inadvertently misled me to my perception of the word construction. So when you say to people going forward, that you're in the industry, it's better to say you're in the home remodeling or the residential remodeling to kind of keep narrowing it down. And oh, so how do you, how do you do basements? Oh, we don't have basements in Florida. Oh, you didn't say that. So what do you do? Kitchens, basements, kitchens, bathrooms, whole home remodeling, but nothing exterior. And I get them into a mindset to say, don't take for granted what's in your head because what's in your head as the seller is different than what's in my head as the potential buyer. And the more you get clearer in projecting what you do, the better people will be gravitating to when they're looking for something specific and also getting rid of the tire kickers that may not have really been tire kickers. I tell people, sometimes tire kickers were created by us, that
Mhm.
we were not clear. And just like me, tell me about yourself. I'm like, hell no. I have enough on the website right now. Why am I repeating what's already there? So, but
Mhm.
my point is that it's still a mistake on my part. I don't look at it as the consumer's mistake. So we
Mhm.
need to keep narrowing down what it is you want. So as time goes by, we're never, even me, after all these years and how good I am, I still get tire kickers. So what's good enough for the goose is good enough for the gander, but it is very little. To be fair, the
Mhm.
what is not for me is such a minor distraction that I kind of use it as education of what did I do wrong because I don't have many to begin with. So I try to figure out how did you find me? Oh, online. Well, no kidding. But where were you? Because maybe when they answer, it allows me to figure out that they went to God knows where from God knows when, and that wasn't updated from 5 years ago, like that type of thing. But
Yep.
I blame myself and tell the people that the tire kicker is because of you, not because of them. Once they know that you're the BMW dealership servicing these four towns and it's crystal and the lights are in neon and it says, I do these five cars for this price range in this area, people start to adapt on it. And it doesn't mean that a person's still not going to wander in lost to your front door, but it's going to get less and less. So it all begins with the homepage. What is that top image? What is the opening sentences that say, what do you stand for? You don't need to say, I'm the best in construction, because that is not what you stand for. You need to say, we specifically do large whole home remodeling projects, or we do quick 1 day bathrooms. That's another popular thing. Some people do 1 day, 2 day bathrooms, and they're targeting that market. But you don't want to say bathroom remodeling. You don't want to say luxury bathroom remodeling if you're doing a 1 day, 2 day bathroom upgrade type of thing. And so all of those definitions of clearly articulating what and where you want and who are the people you've done it before and maintaining an image that supports that allows these quality leads to keep coming in. And unfortunately, the bad part of this is it does take some time. It's not a magic wand topic. It's a cleansing yourself up. You and I, people can't see us at the moment. Maybe they're listening to a podcast. We both, I think I'm a good looking guy. You're a good looking guy. But if I just said, hey, Derek, I'm married. But if I made a point and said, hey, Derek, we were both single, I'm going to meet you after work and let's just go meet some women after work. Oh, okay, fine. And if I didn't say anything else and just showed up after work and you're still in your jeans and your boots and, everything from a work day and you're thinking we're going to a bar, like to watch a game with a beer and maybe meet a girl. And then I come in a suit and you're like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to a wine bar. And you're like, you didn't tell me. I'm like, aha, no, you didn't ask. Or maybe you assumed. But either way, you might be a better looking guy, right? But when we walk in and the women see somebody in a suit and then they see you looking like you just rolled out of bed, there's a chance that the woman might gravitate more towards the guy who looks a little bit more presentable, possibly a little bit more wealthier, not struggling, and all of these topics, all based on your limited knowledge of you didn't know the direction of where we were going. Not the same Derek, not the same Brian. I just cleaned up and put on a suit, and you didn't, right? And maybe you put on a suit, and now all the girls go to you. But my point is, this is all marketing. It's all an awareness of who you are, what you need to do to clean up, and how to dress the part of where you're going. And it, of course, I'm dumbing it down for this conversation, but it all in business is the same thing. Go look at your top homepage right this second. Does that first image represent the best of who you are for the next phone call in the afternoon? And if the answer is no, fix it. Then go to the next page. People might say, well, Brian, I don't know which page to go. Good point. Well, for free, go to Google Analytics and just find out what's your second most visited page and clean up that page. And all of that stuff becomes so like head scratching. And it's like, really, that's it? I go, yeah. I mean, of course, the homepage, it's easy. That could represent 20 to 80% of visitors, depending on how you market. Why wouldn't you have the cover of the book be crisp? And when people say, well, we're thinking and planning and strategizing, I just want to stick my hand through the damn computer and slap them in the face and go, think about it today, organize yourself tomorrow, get it live next week, because the prospect who's coming in the following week doesn't give a shit. Excuse my French. Just doesn't care, right? They don't care. Fix it. Make yourself look good. Go clean yourself up. And all of those little steps allow us to go to that long-term direction, to the more quality. And if you don't take the baby steps to get there, you're going to get a lot of more. But when more becomes a pain in the ass, you really don't want to avoid leads because they're a distraction. You really want to treat a lead as a true opportunity to grow your company. And if you're not in that mindset, then you're just going to be working harder, and there's not a person on the planet who can't work harder. Just work more hours and hope that you're going to get a residual.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying all of that. And I really like what you said about at the end of the day, if you're getting the wrong types of clients or too many tire kickers or the sales process just sputters out, you have to be accountable for it. What message are you putting out there? Are you unclear about what services you're providing or which areas? And the better you can make it look, the more clear you can get, the better fit you're gonna ultimately get from the leads that are coming in. Now, can you share with us some specifics about client that you've worked with? I know you've worked with many, many clients, but specifics as far as like kind of where they started, some of the advice you gave them, and what you implemented to help them go from, lackluster marketing to something refined and working well for them to grow their business?
Yeah, it's actually a really good question. And when I was at the show, you are correct. There is hundreds that I could use, but what I rather do is be as extremely current and relevant to when I was at the IBS KBIS show. I had three different presentations, and one of them, which was rather popular, was teaching people, and I wish I had the title here in front of me, but the title was lowering your marketing percentage as you grow. And you have to listen to what I said because I didn't say spend less money. I said lowering your marketing percentage allocation as you grow. So if in year one you have 5%, I'm just making an even number, and in year two you go down to 3%, depending on where you're going, you still may financially be spending more money year to year, but as a percentage of the income statement, you actually spend less money getting to the next direction you're going to. And the only way to do that is to then project long-term success stories. And that's my gig, long-term. Nothing like what happened from 30 to 60 to 90 days, because you really never know if it's going to stick around. So I had three particular accounts. And forgive me, I just got to think. Okay, one is called, all three of these are live, by the way. So just to make a point, one is called Milton Construction. The other one is called Mass Builders. I know there's multiple Mass Builders, so this Mass Builders is in Virginia. And then another one called Turnkey in Texas. Now, the diversity of the three. One is a $2 million company, the other is a $3 million company, and the other is an $8 million company. All of them 5 years ago were small, over 5 years ago, were smaller than the numbers I just said. But they had one thing in common that people were paying attention to when I was showing the financials. All three of them were spending between 2 and 2.5% max of their income to go from that 2 million to 8 million. And using the 8 million company to be specific, he was just under 2% to be at 8 million. And I had a quote unquote marketing agency call him to explain to him how they could help him grow. And when he just said, how much money should I allocate? They asked him about his sales. He said, I'm 8 million. And then they said, well, if you allocate between 3 and 5%, you could do X, Y, and Z. And he said, let's be simple. Why am I giving you an extra $100,000 to $200,000 to get to a place I don't know, where I already know where I am, with an extra 100 to 200? I'd rather just travel the world at the end of the year, guaranteed. And because you're asking me to just throw a percentage at you, but you're not really asking me what's the next step on where to go long term. And right there, those success stories of those three companies, they're very diversified between remodeling and a builder, and just a builder, just to make a point of the diversity. They all spent the same time over 5 years ago to plant the foundation to the success today. So when I get to brag about it, it simply didn't happen overnight. And they didn't have aspirations for it to happen overnight. And even if they did, it wouldn't have been me, because I wouldn't have been able to provide it. So it would have been like, it's like meeting truth and doing it correctly. And that's where, what I love about this industry is, and without coming across condescendingly, it's only contractors. This is not top tier companies competing with each other. It's field level competition. So it's really doesn't take much to get ahead, but it takes the effort. And saying to raise your hand to say, I'm going to do it correctly, consistently, is something I can't guarantee. I could just ask for it, but I really don't know. I'm turning 61. I started the gym when I was in college. 40 years later, I still go to the gym. My membership is not a membership to look good. It's a membership to live healthy, but I pay the membership and they lose money on me because I go all the time. Other people buy a membership and, I never see them again. New Year's resolutions, they just sign up like mad dogs and then they just
Yep.
don't go. But they don't realize the secret was the determination to do something and making sure you continuously do it regardless of the time of day. I have ups, I have downs. There's the same economic cycles that everybody else faces. You go to follow my online toolbox. I'm up to over 400 weekly quick tips. That was through COVID. That was through my cancer. That was through my vacations. That was through my blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. But I'm a marketing machine that just doesn't. When I stop doing my weekly quick tips, that's because I'm dead. That's it. I tell people.
Mhm.
And if I can't do it myself, why would I ask anybody else to do it? And I'm not telling people I'm perfect. There are times I do my weekly quick tip 3 days earlier because I'm going to be away the following week, or maybe 3 to 5 days later. But the point is, nobody's missing me. It just keeps going and going and going. And as soon as I come back, I hit the enter key and go, damn it, my marketing fell behind by 5 days. It's not like I got penalized, but I didn't let it become 2 weeks. I didn't let it become 3 weeks. And if you start to let it become that, weeks that turn into months that turn into quarters, then you just don't listen to Derek, don't listen to Brian, just go do something else. Just go, it's smarter to save your time and just go do something that makes you money and not trying to sugarcoat what is required to build a successful business, you know?
Yeah, great.
And so
Thanks
those three
for
companies are just examples. But you know what? It's funny
mhm.
just to add
Yep.
on, I have an Instagram channel and it's easy to find my online toolbox. Every week I do a featured project. This featured project is not for my ego. It's actually for me to support the companies in the industry that are just keeping their marketing going. And we do show a lot of cool projects, but they're really cool marketing projects. The people take a project, we guide them to the web page, and there's this whole pattern of, oh, look at the story, look at the way it was documented, not just on the website. You can go to their Facebook profile, their Instagram profile, their YouTube profile, their Google profile, and it's not identical, but it's this message that just keeps going in a consistent manner. And it just keeps going and going. So when people say, wow, that's a lot of featured projects, I go, good, that's the point. Not my feature. I mean, I'm helping them. Don't get me wrong. I'm helping them behind the scenes in consulting and guidance, but I can't get people to give me their pictures. I can't get people to give me their videos. I can't force them to give me descriptions. Not the ones that I could generate through a tool, the ones that say, "Hey, Derek the remodeler, when I look at that countertop, is it quartz or marble?" I don't know, right? I don't know about the load-bearing wall that you took down that you didn't if you didn't share with me the before image, how would I know? I didn't know about the termite destruction on the wood underneath the subflooring and blah, 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 blah. And when you give me that stuff, all of a sudden these landing pages look so personalized, so informative. And then when you go to Google ABC remodeling in whatever city, USA, and then they're sitting on page one, two, or three, or they're in ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever it is. And then they go, wow, Brian, what did you do? I go, I set the foundation. I didn't do a magic wand. They think that somehow that I have this ABC trick that I keep in my pocket. And the trick is the continuity, doing it as good as possible.
Mhm.
Anybody here listening to us could go, and this is what happens with the younger generation. So before you do, don't try to impress me if you're listening. They'll go to my website and go, hey, Brian, you call yourself this brand ambassador and marketing genius. Your H3 tags are missing. I know it. I'm not a dummy. I'm fairly well aware that they're missing. But guess what? I have so much other stuff going on that's giving me activity through the next year or two. I don't care. But it's
Mhm.
my competitive awareness on how I position for where I'm going that allows me not to be glued to my damn website discussing every little thing that could be optimized when I can't prove it's going to help me grow my business you know? And so that awareness on my Instagram channel are showing off these companies that they are very good at what they do. They're just better at marketing than their competitors. And that's a very big thing
Yeah.
that is a differentiator. And
Mhm.
and I have a backlog of years of projects. I just can't post them quick enough, and they just keep going and going. But I have that there to stimulate other contractors to know that if a contractor could do it, you could do it too, but I can't make you do it. I could just bring the horse to the water and say, look at this beautiful crystal clear lake, drink, please.
Mhm.
And if they don't, whatever, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, marketing's not, not a one and done. It's an ongoing commitment, if you will, to developing relationships, making upgrades, seeing what the competition is doing. And I like how you mentioned consistency across all of the different channels, and so it's resonating with people no matter where they're finding you and what's going on. So now, Brian, what's the best way for people to connect with you, learn more about you, your marketing? I know you've got some educational content as well. How should people approach that?
Well, there's a couple of ways. Let's start with the free. That always seems to be the hit at the beginning. The Instagram channel is for free, ongoing motivation on a weekly basis of other contractors and how they're implementing their marketing efforts on a consistent basis. On Facebook, for free, or YouTube, we have a weekly quick tip that takes topics, and they keep coming and coming, where there's some topic that we always like to use a real example of, hey, here's what's going on. Here's a quick tip. Gotta go. Goodbye, and move on. So YouTube and Facebook for weekly quick tips, Instagram for weekly featured projects for ongoing motivation to how the field is doing it. We have classes, basic and advanced, rather inexpensive, where the basic is teaching people all of the foundational topics on how to build their brand, mostly towards the website, not 100%, but mostly towards the website. The advanced class is taking that knowledge and then surrounding it with everything external to the website from Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Google profile, and many other topics. So the moon, I'm sorry, the sun is your website, and all of the planets and everything else rotating is
Yeah.
the advanced side in simplistic terms. And then only if somebody is a student of at least the basic class, we're willing to entertain having a marketing engagement relationship where we'll help them build a plan that they could implement on their own or implement with one of many different resources that we're associated with. But we kind of like an architect. We help build a plan before we discuss who the builder is going to be, type of thing. And
Yep.
so the plan is with no prejudice towards who the builder is, but we really need to make sure that the owner could package themselves so strongly that by the time they speak to any programmer, whoever that programmer may be or agency may be, there's a clear articulation of what they do, where they do it, and the arsenal of content that's one click away in a folder that someone can see it all without being told, oh, it's coming. We just want to say, no, we're ready. And
Mhm.
that's a painful topic, by the way. It really is. For people to say, no, no, I already have a programmer. I'm like, great, but I don't even want to talk to him because I don't want a builder coming with a crane to work on my empty lot when I never even drew floor plans. There's no need to know them. And once they admit it, it's a small percentage, but when they look at all of those featured projects on Instagram, all those companies all did the same thing. They just simply built it right.
Great. So we'll put some links in the description of this, video, audio, wherever you're checking it out from, to the website, your social profiles as mentioned. So go click through there, get some of the free tips and courses. Thanks so much, Brian, for coming on here and sharing all your marketing wisdom with all the builders and contractors out there.
Thank you so much, Derek. It was great having you, and I hope you and all your listeners have a fantastic year.